Welcome to another edition of From the Press Box right here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. We are part of the Sports Talk family. We're here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. But Sports Talk is on Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And there's an additional Sports Talk every Tuesday night from 10 p.m. to midnight. My name is Rob Leonard, and joining me is my co-host and brother, Tim Leonard. Hello, brother. How we doing?
Good morning, brother. Doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing fine too, brother. I don't know where to start, brother, because a lot of big stories this week. Lots of big stories this week. But you know what? I'm reminded of my brother last week. My brother Tim Leonard, who doesn't get angry with his beloved Yankees. Last week, got kind of angry with the Yankees for not doing crap.
I get angry with the Yankees all the time. What are you talking about?
Oh, you're one of those Yankee fans. Oh, the Yankees are the greatest. They're the greatest.
No, not even close.
They need a third backup all-star second baseman or, whatever.
What are you doing? Are you doing a wake and bake today, brother? Come on. Let's get factual here.
What's a wake and bake? I never heard of them.
Wake and bake. You wake up and you smoke weed.
Oh, no, I haven't done that.
Yeah,
I don't think ever.
Anyway.
I've woken drunk.
Anyway, brother. The fact is that I've criticized the Yankees many times.
Okay, well,
I'm not a Pollyanna fan. You want to see Pollyanna fans? Go on Twitter, because there's a lot of unhinged individuals who were saying once the Yankees signed Corey Kluber, they were reached an agreement with Corey Kluber this week, going to the World Series. It's like, yeah, you're on drugs. Well, the Yankees still need upgrades in the rotation. So
I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter, brother. I do have my handle. So once I get it going,
Smiling Rob Leonard.
Smiling Rob Leonard. Anyway, so I want to start with the Yankees this week, brother, because last week you were on the air. We were on the air until 10 o'clock, and literally after our show, things start to happen with the Yankees. So I want to start with the Yankees, even though there's Jets, there's Nets, there's Islanders, there's NFL playoffs, and the Knicks we have to get to today. There's a lot of things we have to get to. So let's start off, though, brother. What did the Yankees do that actually they did a lot of things after you went on your rant?
The Yankees did some things that made me happy this week. And, in fact, led me to believe that Brian Cashman may have been listening to the show last week, because they went out incredibly to me. DJ LeMahieu was signed to a 6-year contract for $90 million. Now, I personally, I was stunned by the contract, and it's very rare that I'm stunned by a contract. I was very surprised that the Yankees gave DJ 6 years, first of all. That was a surprise to me, because I thought it was going to be either a 4-year deal or a 5-year deal. So the 6 years was a stunner. But the $90 million, especially for 6 years, I thought was about at least $30 million lower than what it should be, or what I heard that DJ was asking for. So when I heard 6 years, I was kind of like, oh no. And then I heard $90 million. I'm like, oh my God, what a great deal. Because this is a deal that, will the back end of this deal probably come back to haunt the Yankees? Yeah, probably. But the Yankees were able to sign DJ LeMahieu for $15 million a year, which is a bargain. This is a guy who for the last 2 seasons has been an MVP caliber player for the Yankees. He has been the best player on the team. And fine, Luke Voigt led the league in home runs last year. Great. DJ LeMahieu was the best player on that team. So the fact that you're able to bring him in for $15 million, which, let's face facts. I know it sounds twisted, but $15 million is not an elite salary in Major League Baseball these days.
No, it's not. It's actually, it's almost a bargain.
I was going to say it's kind of middle of the road. It's a star salary, but it's not a superstar salary. And DJ LeMahieu has given the Yankees superstar performance. So I couldn't have been happier with the move. So what that did was it allowed the Yankees to go a little harder after Corey Kluber, who I still say, yes, I know Corey Kluber has barely pitched in the last 2 years. But when you look at the injuries that he's had, it's not because of pitching. He broke an arm on a comebacker. That's not a pitching injury. I'll invest in a guy with a broken arm all day as opposed to somebody who's had Tommy John surgery or had his labrum in his shoulder operated on. But last year, Corey Kluber had a teres major injury in his shoulder that needed surgery. That concerns me. But Kluber did a workout last week for teams. 25 teams showed up, so obviously there's interest in a guy who has won 2 Cy Young awards. And the Yankees wound up being the favorite in that, mostly because of the people who they have working for them. The Yankees pitching coach worked with Kluber in Cleveland, and the guy, I want to say he's one of strength coaches or something. That was where Kluber had his audition, was at that guy's facility. So the Yankees had the internal structure that appealed to Kluber, and that was basically why he decided to go with them, because he knows people who work for the organization already. So I'm thrilled that Corey Kluber is a Yankee. I think he's a guy that, assuming he stays healthy, and I don't think there's any reason to assume that he won't, because, like I said, 2 years ago with the broken arm, that's just bad luck. You break an arm playing baseball, it's not, it's not structural damage, right? It's not an elbow. Right, it's not from repetition. It's not something with the shoulder. It's not Tommy John surgery. Like I said, the surgery last year is a concern, but I think Corey Kluber is primed for a big year. Then, and I don't know how much fact is going on with this rumor, but the Yankees over the weekend were connected with Luis Castillo, the starter from the Cincinnati Reds. Now, the only reason that this trade would make sense is because the Yankees desperately want to stay under the $210 million luxury tax number.
Right.
Now, Twitter was going nuts over the weekend. Everybody was, they're the Yankees and the Reds. They're talking Castillo, and these are the players, and it's almost done, and all kinds of crazy people. And it's where it concerns me is when it starts getting into names you never heard of. If Jeff Passan puts something out there, if Ken Rosenthal puts something out there, if John Heyman puts something out there, then I know there's some veracity to it. But when some guy in Central America says, "Well, the Yankees and the Reds are almost done with a Corey Kluber trade," then I'm sitting there saying, I don't know. The real shocker to all of this, because let me just say, one report had Castillo coming to the Yankees for Clint Frazier, Miguel Andujar, and likely at least a prospect or two. Now, I don't see the Yankees trading Clint Frazier, because Clint Frazier is supposed to be their starting left fielder this year. All right, so that part of the deal concerns me already.
Right. Now,
that being said, Luis Castillo is somebody who would bring back a large haul. He's young. He is going to make. He just settled on an arbitration case. He's going to make $4.2 million this year. He's very inexpensive, and he is a stud pitcher. He is a guy who, if the Yankees got him, and the rotation was Garrett Cole, Luis Castillo, Corey Kluber, and then Luis Severino when he's finally healthy after his Tommy John surgery from last season, that is a rotation that can win a World Series. But to say that Luis Castillo is on his way here for a guy that the Yankees can't really afford to trade is, to me, a bit dubious at best. Now, what we did see on Sunday, and this was a rare move, was that the Cincinnati Reds GM actually denied everything. Nick Kroll is the Reds general manager. His quote was that everything, all of these rumors are, quote, completely false. Then he said, of course, we intend to have Luis as a member of our rotation for 2021. I expect him to say that part of it. But for him to say the rumors are false, that's a pretty big condemnation of everything that was being said and was going on. So, I don't know how much of that is true. I don't know how much of that is posturing. Obviously general managers love to posture. But for a GM to take that step and to say, hey, this is not happening and everything you're reading is false, that doesn't happen too often. So, we'll see. I could see the Yankees definitely trading Andujar because they don't really have a spot for him. I don't see them trading Frazier, but I could see Andujar, Clark Schmidt, and maybe somebody like an Albert Abreu, a minor league, a couple of minor leaguers, a couple of their better minor leaguers, but don't expect Davy Garcia to be in this trade. So there are a couple of guys that I'm sure Cashman will say, no, this guy is untouchable. And if you look at what the Mets gave up for Francisco Lindor, and obviously it's a little bit of a different situation because Lindor is going to be a free agent after this season, while Castillo still has several years in the arbitration system. I don't know. I mean, it remains to be seen how much the Yankees would have to give up for Castillo. And also it remains to be seen whether or not the Reds are looking to rebuild or if they're looking just to unload some salary. So I don't know. I don't see this happening. Let's put it that way. I'm with the Yankees sticking to this $210 million salary cap number. I don't know. I
think the best way to look at it for those who want to spend more is next year the rates change, so you might get a little more player signed next year. Right,
like we said last week. I mean that number should go up after the season because the collective bargaining agreement expires after this season, and I expect that number to rise. I don't know significantly, but by at least $10 million.
Well, it all depends on the new TV contracts too. So,
right,
I'm pretty sure the rules.
The other thing to mention, the last thing for the Yankees in terms of the Kluber signing, is that more than likely that this means that Masahiro Tanaka's time with the Yankees is over. Because, like I said, with the salary cap number, Tanaka is looking for somewhere in the neighborhood of $15 million a year. And if the Yankees just gave Kluber $11 million, I don't think that Tanaka would be unjustified in asking for $15 million. But if the Yankees are determined not to go over 210, then more than likely Tanaka time in the Bronx is done. I heard that the Padres are interested in Tanaka and have made some inquiries, but it's also entirely possible that he goes back to Japan. That's something he said a few weeks ago, that he either wanted to be a Yankee or he was going to go back to Japan. So he's another one where time will tell, but we're getting to the point where we're starting to run out of time here.
Yeah, that's a good point. Nice to see the Yankees back in business, so to speak, brother. After you told them to get back in business. So,
hey, sometimes you need a kick in the ass.
I'm
more than happy to provide the kick in the ass.
Brother, we don't have a website, but if we did, imagine we had like a timeline. Monday, Tim Leonard says this. Tuesday, this happens. Wednesday, this happens. So. Maybe we should have that would be a good idea. Tim Leonard says this and then have a timeline right afterwards.
We would have a very busy webmaster, brother.
We would. Anyway, let's talk about the Nets. They went after the guy that we've talked about maybe they shouldn't go after, but they did. James Harden. The Rockets sent him to the Nets for a lot. Whether he's worth it or not, I don't know, because are they going to start playing with 3 basketballs over at the Barclays Center? So
that's still not allowed, brother.
I know, but that would help. They have 3 stars, and I mean, I always look back to Walt Frazier and Earl Monroe playing together, and they did play together. They won a championship, and they went to another one. So they've proved it can be done, and they're both in the Hall of Fame. I'm wondering if all these Nets who are very good can play together also. And first of all, why do you think the Nets got Harden? Do they really need him?
I mean, that's the thing that I don't understand necessarily. Let's face it, the NBA, it's a league. It's a stars league. So if you can get another star, then that's what a lot of teams want to do. Right. I mean, me personally, the reason I don't like this trade, and I said this weeks ago when these rumors first came up, that the Nets would have to give up way too much. And back then I thought it was going to be way too much. What they gave up to me was even more than way too much. But the Nets gave up depth, which is never a good thing as far as I'm concerned. They gave up the little size that they had in Jared Allen. And they gave up, to me, a great scoring option off the bench in Caris LeVert. Now, the only negative about this, from a human perspective, or actually, I guess it might even be a positive if you look at it that way, is LeVert, when he had he did his physical, and they wound up finding a mass on his lung when they did a full body MRI as part of the physical. And like I said, found a mass on his not his lung, his liver, his kidney, one or the other. But now it's like he's going to have to get treatment. You know, they're not 100% sure what it is yet because it hasn't been diagnosed as of yet. But when you find a mass, it's usually not a good thing. So it's entirely possible that this trade might have saved Caris LeVert's life.
Wow! Because
they found it early, obviously, because otherwise, why would there would be no reason to check on a healthy, early 20s athlete. But because they did this full body MRI, Caris LeVert is likely going to be fine after treatment. But
that's amazing. That's like a wake up. Like, hey, well, I got traded today. Oh, that stinks. Okay, you got to take a full physical. Oh my God, I have this thing on my body, and it's all of a sudden, your whole life has changed because something totally out of your grasp and your reach happened.
Right.
Amazing.
But, yeah, the other thing. First of all, like I said, trading Jared Allen. Right now, the Nets really their only big man is DeAndre Jordan. Now, DeAndre Jordan was a good NBA player 5 years ago. Right now, he's a decent big man. That's pretty much all I can give him at this point. But he's not a force, and he's not a guy who is going to go out and just dominate the paint. It's just not. It's not in his game anymore. So right now the Nets don't have size, and when you make this trade, now you're saying to Kevin Durant, Kev, we need you to grab more rebounds. Well, if I'm the Nets, I don't want my superstar cornerstone franchise guy to have to go and grab rebounds and throw his body around and maybe get hurt again. So that's the aspect of this trade that I don't like, is that Jared Allen was perfect for that. He was an inside presence. He was a shot blocker. He was a guy who loved going in, grabbing rebounds, doing all that dirty work. He's not there anymore. But the problem with that is now they need somebody exactly like him. So
every team needs one, brother.
Well, yeah, but why do you don't why trade that guy when you already have him?
Yeah, I agree with that.
You usually try to trade from a strength. The Nets traded from a weakness and had to send him in this trade. And the problem that I have with Harden, and yes, I know that's a strange sentence. How do you have a problem with a guy who's a superstar? He duplicates a lot of what the Nets have. Kyrie Irving and James Harden are very similar players. They need the ball in their hands. They like to shoot. They can facilitate. But if Kyrie Irving is not going to take as many shots as James Harden will, but he still wants 20 to 25 shots a game. So if you're looking at that, I don't know how James Harden makes the Nets better, except to say, yeah, he's another star player. Now, to me, this trade becomes dependent on, I'm looking at it this way. Steve Nash is going to probably play James Harden 36 minutes a game, about Kyrie Irving about 36 minutes. So if you have Harden on the floor while Irving is on the bench, you're going to have 12 minutes for each of those guys where they can run the team by themselves. All right? So what happens with the 24 minutes that they are on the floor together? That, to me, is what is going to determine how well the Nets do this season. And if they can coexist and share the ball and play good team basketball for those 24 minutes, then yes, the Nets are a title threat.
Well,
I'm not talking Eastern Conference. I'm talking NBA title.
Right, I agree with that. And I also think you got to sit these guys down and say, hey, this is, first of all, a great opportunity for you guys. Second of all, you're in New York where this has been already done. I mentioned Waltz and Pearl. And yeah, I know, but I'm just saying you sell this to these guys because maybe they don't know these guys. How do you not know them? But
I don't know that they care. That's the thing.
But then you got to say to them, hey, do you want to win or not? That's what you got to say to them, and you got to throw that in their heads. Maybe they don't do it, but you got to at least throw it in their heads.
But this is the issue with the current NBA player. I don't know how many of them actually desperately want to win. Like, I know LeBron definitely desperately wants to win. The rest of the NBA, there's a lot of players in the NBA that I don't know how much a title means to them. And it's a sad thing to say. It's a very sad commentary on the sport. But I look at somebody like Kyrie Irving. I have no idea how much he wants to win because he has separated himself from winning situations. He is known as a coach killer. He apparently at this point, first of all, he's been AWOL for a couple of weeks now. All right,
yeah, where is he?
Nobody knows. He left the team. Nobody really knew why he left. Steve Nash, the coach, he said, when it first happened, he says, I'm not really sure where Kyrie is. I tried to call him and he didn't call me back. Apparently, Kyrie has issues with Steve Nash, and he has issues with the Nets because supposedly they didn't consult him before they hired Nash as the coach. Now, wow. I know there's a segment of people that say, oh, well, the shut up and play days are over. Well, you sign a contract with a franchise, you play. You don't get to say who the coach is. That's for the organization to decide. That's what the GM's job is. Kyrie Irving, would it be nice if they asked him, hey, what do you think about this guy? We're thinking about hiring him. Yeah, it would be a nice thing if they did it. Is it mandatory? Absolutely not.
And no offense, it's not like he's been with the Nets for a long time.
Exactly.
And established himself as a leader on the team. He's not Michael Jordan. He's not Michael Jordan where, you want to bring in Phil Jackson? Oh, okay, yeah, okay. You have to be there and establish yourself before you can start bossing people around.
Kyrie Irving, I'll give him that he's a great player. Yes, there's nobody who can doubt that. But he's also a head case. And he's also a guy who never seems to be happy with his situation. The guy's making $40 million a year, and he's complaining about a coach who I don't understand why anybody would complain about a coach who was a former point guard, the guy who's playing your spot. Why do you think that he's not going to do, or run the team through him? I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me why Kyrie, like I said, he's known to be a coach killer. So I don't know. Maybe he's got Steve Nash in his crosshairs already. Steve Nash's coaching career isn't even 15 games old yet. So how can Steve Nash be a bad guy in all of this? So
he can't, and that's the almost beautiful thing for Steve Nash. And no one's going to blame him if the Nets don't win because Kyrie Irving, decided to take a couple of weeks off.
But now, because of the couple of weeks off, he also there was video, I think it was on Instagram, that showed him at a birthday party, which breaks the COVID protocols. He might have COVID for all we know. I mean, there's so many things right now that could, depending on what the test show, if it winds up that he has COVID and has to sit out for a couple more weeks, then he's going to lose salary because there's going to be a fine, there's going to be a suspension, and then we'll really see what kind of craziness happens because then Kyrie, then he'll just pout and sit and say he can't play, or he'll invent an injury, and then it'll go from there. So
see, Kyrie needs a guy like Michael Jordan. Sort of.
He's a guy like Tim Leonard to give him a kick in the ass. That's what he needs.
Not like Jordan was, Dennis Rodman's babysitter, but Jordan would give him that look, and you know what? Someone like Rodman worked perfectly with someone like Michael Jordan because he went and did all the dirty work.
Right, and Rodman did all the dirty work. But he also had respect for Jordan because obviously you have to have respect for Jordan.
He also was good at the dirty work too. So
of course,
that was I'm surprised he wasn't used more by our president as a North Korean diplomat. You know,
that would have been perfect working situation.
Hey, they're all buddies. You know?
Anyway, brother,
all the love letters, brother.
Anyway, brother, the other part of this trade that I especially don't like.
Draft picks, baby. They gave up a lot of draft picks.
The Nets gave up a lot of draft picks. They gave up 3 first-round picks. Flat out gave them up in 2022, 24, and 26.
No, that's not good.
That's 3 years the Nets don't have a draft pick. Then the Rockets have the option to switch 4 other first-round picks. And I don't know how many of these will actually come to fruition, because obviously the Rockets aren't going to switch this year's first-round pick with the Nets, because obviously the Nets are going to finish with a better record than the Rockets. But the Rockets have the option to switch picks in 2021, 23, 25, and 27. Now, the reason for the every other year aspect of this is the NBA several years ago put in a rule in the league that you can't trade consecutive first-round picks. And I don't remember the team that was responsible for that, but there was one team. It might have been the Sterling Clippers that would just trade draft picks and wouldn't have a number 1 pick for like 8 years in a row, and it destroys franchises. So the NBA put something in their bylaws that said, look, you can't trade consecutive year picks, because they just worried about what it would do to a franchise and it would set them back too far. So. That's a lot to give up for one guy, and especially, like I said, a guy who's not giving you a whole lot of new abilities. It's a situation where, if Harden played, if Harden was if Harden was like Anthony Davis, then I could see that would be a better trade. But he's a guy who gives you something that Kyrie Irving already gives you, that you're already paying a premium price for. And James Harden, between this year and next year, is going to make $47 million next year.
Really, that much?
Big money. Big money. That's a massive contract.
You see, another thing about this, and no one's talked about it, but there's no fans this year. I mean, they're playing at the Barclays Center, and all the teams are back at their home courts. But there's going to be no money made from fans coming. It's not like there's going to be an extra 2,000 seats more sold per game or something. So I'm not sure getting him this year was that important.
Obviously the Nets are in win now mode. This trade confirmed it. Yes. As soon as they signed Durant and Irving, they were in win now mode. But now when you acquire James Harden and you put these 3 players together, the quote unquote big 3, you are in win now mode. And Harden's contract goes through next season, so they basically are in win now or next year mode.
Right.
Because and I could see they're when the trading deadline happens, every year there are players who get traded for salary cap reasons, and then the team that trades for them releases them immediately, and then they go out and they sign a free agent contract. So I could see the Nets picking up another big man that way later in the season, but for right now, the biggest injury that could happen to them is DeAndre Jordan getting hurt, because they don't really have another center who could play 30 minutes.
No, they don't.
That person is not on the roster currently. So either the Nets are going to have to address that in the very near future, or they're going to have to keep their fingers crossed that DeAndre Jordan can stay healthy.
Right. I'm sorry, brother. Continue.
No, I was going to say one thing I'm going to throw out there, and I understand it's a long shot, so don't come at me, whatever. I could see the Nets making this move because they're already sick of Kyrie Irving, and they might look to move him at some point, because like I said, it's too much duplication. But if the Nets move Kyrie and see what they can get back for him, obviously it's not going to be as much as they sent for Harden. But would that wind up being addition by subtraction to get rid of the headache, to get rid of the coach killer, to say, you know what, we signed him, we wanted Durant and him, and we wanted them to coexist because they said it would be a good pairing, but we can't deal with this guy's garbage anymore.
That's a good point.
It's a long shot, and I understand it. And you want stars. You don't want to trade stars, and it would be certainly difficult to trade with the contract that they signed him to. But I could see it as a possibility down the road to say, all right, hey, KD, Harden, you guys are going to be the guys, and we're going to see about maybe seeing what we can do to put another star kind of player with you. But we can't deal with Kyrie's nonsense anymore. And we can't have a player running the team. Because no player should be bigger than the team. And I've said that for as long as we've been on the air. And Kyrie wants to be bigger than the team.
Right.
He wants to run the team. He can't. That's not his job. His job is to play basketball. If you want to run a team, retire and go try and be a GM somewhere.
Yeah, coach. Anyway, brother, you're listening to 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College, from the press box on your radio right now, or maybe you're listening to us later on as a podcast available on Spreaker.com, among other places. And we're here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., talking sports. I'm Rob Leonard. He's Tim Leonard. Thanks for listening. And one more thing about the Nets, brother, before we switch topics. I've also said that, this is the year the Nets really should establish themselves as the team in New York, because the Knicks aren't playing as bad as I thought, but this would have been the year.
They just did snap a 5-game losing streak. So
yeah, but I didn't expect them to win anything by this point.
They have been somewhat better than expected. I'll give you.
Yeah. So, but I thought because of who the Nets had, they would be. This is the team to watch, and this is the team. Brooklyn's always been a basketball center, so I thought that maybe this would be the year the Nets claim a little bit of New York, because they really haven't. I mean, whatever.
Well, I mean, think about it this way: what team has been in the news? It's been the Nets.
Yeah,
we're not here. You don't hear anything about the Knicks.
It's probably better for the Knicks.
There's not a whole lot. The Knicks are almost existing in anonymity right now,
right?
Because they're playing pretty well, but it's not like they're certainly not setting the world on fire. And like I said, the 5-game losing streak. Okay,
brother, I hate to cut you off. You have too much to talk about, brother.
Yes, brother.
Jets have signed a new coach, Robert Saleh. If I said his name right, I assume I did.
You did, Saleh.
And he brings excitement to the Jets after a horrible season with Adam Gase. A lot of people are happy about this. I'm happy about this. How are you happy about this, brother?
At first, because I didn't know very much about him, I wasn't thrilled. But I'm coming around. I'm coming around to the point where I now like the hire. And one of the main reasons why I have come around is Richard Sherman, who is a player I have a lot of respect for. He is, first of all, he's a very intelligent guy. And secondly, he was an outstanding player for a very long time. He played under Saleh, both with the Seahawks and with the 49ers. Richard Sherman raves about this guy. Now, if Richard Sherman raves about anybody, I'm already sold. The one thing I didn't like about Saleh when I heard this deal was done, this guy is one of those guys on the sideline who is always going out of his mind and pumping his fist and screaming and doing. To me, so much of that is eyewash. But with this guy, apparently it's legit. Eyewash, brother.
I never heard that phrase.
Eyewash is you do it because you think people are going to see it and it's going to look good.
Okay.
But to me, that is behavior that eventually grates on players and will lose a locker room. Sherman said just the opposite. He said that this is a guy who is able to create a culture, is able to make it, not like it's work, and that you're coming in and you're enjoying your time with your teammates and you're enjoying being on the practice field because of the influence that you get from Saleh. And that is so exactly what the Jets need right now. They need a leader. They don't even need a football coach. They need a leader, because Adam Gase was as far away from being a leader as a coach could be. Gase wanted to be studying film and charting X's and O's. He was not a people person. He did not create any kind of a culture in the Jets facility. He was just, personality-wise, he's not cut out to be a head coach. And I don't know why the Jets didn't get that from his time in Miami before they hired him. I'm sure they should have heard this from players or from other coaches, coordinators, whatever. Somewhere along the way in that hiring process, the Jets should have said, look, I don't know how much of a leader this guy is. He doesn't seem to be a people person. And you saw it at Gase's press conference when they hired him to be the coach. His press conference was a disaster. So this is a guy in Salah who is completely the opposite. And whether or not that makes him a winner with the Jets, I don't know, because obviously there's a lot of work that needs to be done here. But he's a guy who's going to get players excited to play. And the benefit of that, the side benefit, I guess I should say, of that is it could make the Jets a more attractive place for free agents, because they do have $70-something million to spend on free agents in this offseason, and they're going to need to spend all of it. But those are some of the things that I'm excited about with this guy is what he brings from a non-football aspect. And that seems to be like the Jets finally made a good decision when it comes to a head coach. And I'll give Joe Douglas the credit on this, because he's the guy that led the search. It almost became an issue that they let this guy get away, because he came back for his second interview. He came to Jersey, and they let him leave without making an offer.
Right.
And people kind of raised an eyebrow to that, because it was like, well, if he's your guy, you bring him back for a second interview. But the Jets wanted to do another interview with Arthur Smith, the Titans offensive coordinator. And I think it was pretty much immediately after that interview, they called Salah and they made him an offer. So, I don't even know. He actually had gone to an interview with the Philadelphia Eagles, and who knows how that interview went. But it's, it's almost a moot point at this now, because the Jets made the call, Salah accepted their offer, and, the Jets get a guy who a lot of teams were looking at, and a lot of teams, I think, coveted. So, now I'm of the mindset it's a good hire, and we'll see what happens on the field. But he seems to be the right guy at the right time for the Jets.
No, I think you're right. I think you need someone. I think you need a lot of enthusiasm as a coach. I mean, not you have to be Tom Landry, Mr.
No enthusiasm at all, bro. What do you mean?
No, but I know, but he was also a winning coach. So, I guess you can have both, but it's a good thing for the Jets. I mean, I think it's something different, at least for the Jets. I think that's, but then Adam Gase was supposed to be different too. So I don't know. Anyway, brother, let's quickly talk about the NFL playoffs. First of all, Tim, our good pal Joe Ritter, who used to work here at the radio station, is a huge Bills fan.
How about Joe Ritter?
Joe Ritter is offered when the Bills will win the Super Bowl to come on and talk about the Bills winning. Because for those who don't know, Joe's a huge Bills fan, and we made fun of him a couple of years ago because we're like, "Why are you a Bills fan?" Especially when they were horrible.
Deservedly so, by the way.
And he said, "Well, they're the only real team in New York, and plays in New York, and a New York team." And I'm like, "Yeah, the Jets and Giants are like 5 minutes from Midtown,
That's what I was screaming at my television while I was watching the game the other day, bro. I was screaming, "Go New York!"
Right, and they're New York teams. I mean, so it was interesting. The Bills are playing very, very well. Bills Chiefs is going to be a great game. That is going to be a great game next week.
I'll tell you what Joe Ritter is happy about, and nobody should ever be happy about injuries, but Joe Ritter is probably pretty happy that Patrick Mahomes got a concussion.
Oh my God,
yesterday.
yeah.
Because that is going to be the story of the week.
That is the entire story.
What's going on with Patrick Mahomes?
I saw Andy Reid in the press conference last night, and he's like, he's okay.
I'm sure that's what he's saying.
And I'm like, are you sure, Andy? You look real nervous right now.
I mean, look.
And he should be, because Patrick Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks.
Patrick Mahomes is his team.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is his team. So, let's put it, the Chiefs aren't the Chiefs without Patrick Mahomes. Plain and simple. There's no other way to say it. But, the Chiefs were able to hang on yesterday after Mahomes left the game. He was tackled. His head hit the turf.
Oh, my God. It was horrible.
It wasn't terrible. I knew there was something to happen, but it wasn't like he got slammed into the turf. It was an awkward tackle. His head hit, but then when he went to get up and he stumbled, and that's when you said, "Oh, he's in trouble." Get him off the field and go get him checked out immediately. Like, don't let him stay in the game. That was my first reaction. And they got him off the field, and then he was able to trot off back to the locker room, and he seemed like he was okay at that point. But, obviously a concussion is something that will have lasting impact. So it's a matter of the NFL, before the season starts, they take what's known as a base rating on players. So if they do get a concussion, they can check with the base ratings as far as reflexes and like just reaction times and stuff like that. So
like a comparison of like
exactly. So that will be the test this week is how long it will take for Mahomes to get back to his base level, because they do it before the season, because the guys haven't taken hits in months, and it's that's going to be an optimum, like their optimum level. So
right.
We'll see what happens, but like I said, that's going to be the story of the week. And
how long can they go for? I mean, they have to decide by Saturday that he can't play, or even go up to game time. I mean,
obviously the Chiefs are going to have to prepare with Chad Henne for at least the first couple days, because Mahomes isn't going to be allowed to practice.
Right.
And this is all assuming that he had a concussion. I think he does. I haven't heard officially that he did, but I can't imagine that it wasn't a concussion, because he looked like he was in pretty bad shape.
Right.
But Henne will practice. He'll take first team snaps, and he'll prepare as if he's going to play. But obviously, the Chiefs want Patrick Mahomes in the game, because if he's not in the game, and you're now playing Chad Henne at quarterback against Josh Allen, who, let's face it, Josh Allen has come into his own this season. He has turned into a superstar quarterback that, I wish he was Sam Darnold. But he has become one of those guys from that draft class where he has become the elite quarterback from that draft class. And the Bills, their defense against the Ravens, I was surprised, to say the least, that they were able to limit Lamar Jackson like they did and hold the Ravens to 3 points. That was an outstanding defensive effort. That I think the Bills defense gets underrated, because Allen has had such a great season, to Stephon Diggs as well. Maryland man, by the way. But he's been the free agent signing of the offseason. So that, those couple of guys have kind of taken all the attention in Buffalo.
Right.
But the Bills they're a well-balanced team. I'm curious to see how that game is going to, what's going to happen in that game. I still think that with the NFC, you have the Packers, and they're going to play the Buccaneers, which I'll be honest, I was surprised at what happened with the Buccaneers and the Saints. I was surprised that Drew Brees threw 3 interceptions in what might be his last game, because there are some rumors that he's going to retire soon. But Brees throwing 3 interceptions, Brady just managed the game. He didn't necessarily do anything too spectacular, but he led them back. The Bucs scored the last 17 points of the game, and it was 20-13 for the Saints, and then the Buccaneers scored 10 unanswered in the fourth quarter, and tied the game late in the third quarter. So, and this was after the Saints beat the Bucs twice during the regular season.
Right.
You know, I mean, the whole thing about you can't beat a team 3 times. It's a cliche for a reason.
Yeah, because it happens. And Brady looked good, you know.
He did.
He's not. I don't think he's retiring this year. I think he's going to play another 2 years.
No, he'll play at least another year, if not more than that. But this is why the Buccaneers brought him in. You know, this is what Tom Brady does, and especially in the postseason, you're not going to rattle him. He's been there and done that. So, you know, he's got his guys around him. You know, who knows? Next year they might wind up getting Julian Edelman too, unless Edelman retires. But Edelman put a tweet out there last week because, you know, it was kind of cryptic, but it was kind of pointing towards, New England, I'm out of here. So who knows?
Well, I can see that after this year they were horrible.
Yeah, but I don't know if Edelman is going to retire because he's been beat up the last couple of years. But does he go to Tampa and just hang out with his boy Tom Brady again?
And Gronk, don't forget Gronk.
Yeah, of course, America's idiot. You got to hang out with Gronk. So, you know, but I mean, there were some good games this weekend. I was impressed with what we saw. Packers beat the Rams 32-18. You know, we had a little bit of snow in Lambeau, just a little tiny some flurries.
That doesn't count.
It made it look like Lambeau. You got, it was like,
you know what they need? They need to, every time they play a cold game in Lambeau, they should bring Tom Coughlin out to see how red his face gets. And then you can know how cold it is or not cold. You know, if it gets really pitch red, okay, it's going to be a really cold game. If he's sitting there with pink, oh, come on. It's, Coughlin-ometer. Yeah, you know what? You know what bothered me? I'm going to say this. One of the things that bothered me about that game is that Pam Oliver is doing the sideline reporting. Yeah, then they had someone else with her.
No, but she did a report, and it's cold in Green Bay. Try going up to Green Bay sometime, and I don't care if it was only 30 degrees. Usually it's colder, but you're standing out there the whole game, 30 degrees in Green Bay. That's cold. Right. I don't care if it says 30. It's cold.
Right.
And people on Twitter are like, is Pam Oliver drunk? Like, what's going on? Somebody check on her. You stand out there for 3 hours and see if you can talk.
Yeah, but I'm sure they have a heated seat for her or something.
Where are they going to put it?
I don't know.
No, they don't have a heated seat for her. You stand out there and you freeze your ass off.
Maybe there's something inside, where the runway is or something where, there's got to be something. You can't be on the field for 3 hours.
Why not?
Because you're standing there. You got to get some warmth, brother. I'm sure Fox takes care of her.
Don't bet on it. She's got to be on the field because if something happens, they're going to cut to her. It's not like she can go stand inside and stay warm and say, "Oh, we got Pam out. Pam's not there. Sorry." She has to be on the field.
Sometimes they have her, sometimes they show her, and sometimes they don't.
Hand warmers and big coats and sweaters. That's it.
Well, I hope she's not wearing a miniskirt.
So no, heels. Of course not. But
I know.
Like I couldn't believe the reaction. These morons.
Well, that's why I don't go on Twitter, brother. You do. You like the morons. I don't. Anyway, brother, let's quickly get to some other things before our show ends.
Just one more thing, brother. Okay, just to size it up. We got Packers Buccaneers for the NFC Championship game. That is going to be Sunday, 3:05 at Lambeau Field, and then the Bills Chiefs will follow that Sunday at 6:40. That one's in Kansas City. The top seeds get the home field.
Yeah, I think Buffalo wins. I think Buffalo. This might be Buffalo's year. They had fans in Buffalo, by the way. Yeah, they had fans in each stadium. Actually, not a lot, but enough.
I wonder if Cuomo was there again. I didn't hear anything.
I don't know, but I do know that the Bills fans were loud as hell.
Of course, they're the Bills fans.
They were
so upset they couldn't break tables before the game. They won't let them tailgate.
Yeah, well, they were
Bills fans
loud,
love to break their tables.
Well, it's a sign of a fandom for them. But I also look forward to get Joe Ritter to talk about the Bills. I look forward to this.
Let's bring him in.
Well, we're gonna. I already talked to him. He's gonna come in. We just have to get him on Zoom. So
I'm looking forward to that.
We're looking forward to that. Anyway, Islanders Rangers start the NHL season this week. Last week I should say. Islanders first game at the Garden, 4-0 Islanders. Then they go to the Coliseum, and the Rangers destroy them 5-0.
Yeah, let's not talk about that game, brother.
That we won't. But it's
talk about the first game.
Yeah, I mean. one thing I'm a little angry about is
I'm angry about 5-0. That's what I'm angry about.
Well, I'm angry about too, but I don't think they should have a rivalry like the Rangers Islanders should not be the first 2 games of the season. I'm sorry. You want to have the opening game, yeah, but save the second game for somewhere a little bit down the road because
they're playing 8 times this year, brother.
Yeah, I know, but still.
It's a COVID schedule. It's it's 56 games.
Yeah, I know,
They're playing each other 8 times.
You don't have to have the first 2 games of the season.
It doesn't matter. They're going to have to play. Maybe they figured let's get 2 games out of the way, and this way that they won't have so much hate built up by the end of the season that they're getting in brawls every night. Because this is the NHL schedule this season is designed for easy travel, short travel.
Yes, that's true.
The Islanders' farthest trips this year are going to be Pittsburgh and Buffalo. So everything is in the Northeast. It's Boston, it's Jersey, it's Philly, it's every team up in this area. So it's a 1-season shot. Hopefully,
and what's the name of the Islanders? What stupid name division are they in this year?
East.
No, I thought they renamed the divisions. After hockey cars or Honda or Suzuki or something. Wasn't it?
I did not hear about that, brother. I don't know.
I thought they did that. Go to the NHL, see if you can find the standings.
I'm looking.
Quickly.
Yeah, no, Central, East, North, West.
Really?
That's what it is. Unless if they did something with sponsors, then it's not on the website.
Okay, good. I mean, I thought they changed the name of the division, so I am wrong. Or maybe they were going to. I don't know. I know they need money.
Anything for a buck.
And they're not going to make a lot of money this year because it's there's going to be no fans. Maybe
wait
for the playoffs.
Wait a minute. I'm on the NHL website, brother. You are correct.
Yeah. Oh,
this
thank
is disgusting.
You.
It's just disgusting.
What's the Islanders division?
They are in the Mass Mutual East division. Then there is the Discover Central division.
You see, I was right, brother.
The Honda West division. See, they put the Honda out west, so you couldn't complain about it so much, brother, like you do at the Barclays Center. And the Scotia North division. Scotia Bank is a big bank up in Canada. And these are actually all Canadian teams. I didn't even realize there are 7 Canadian teams in the NHL.
Yeah, well, the Canadian dollar started to come back, so the teams went back to Canada.
All right, so yeah, they have 7 teams in that division.
The Canadians are going to be loving this, man. They're very competitive up there about their hockey, and all 7 teams playing against each other. That's going to be a very cool thing to follow because
the other part of that you have to remember, brother, is that Canada was adamantly opposed to having American teams coming in. Remember with the baseball that the Toronto Blue Jays played the teams in Buffalo because Canada didn't want Americans coming into the quote unquote COVID bubble.
Right.
So the Blue Jays had to play. This is the way that I guess they get around it is you only have Canadian teams playing in Canada against Canadian teams. So
until the playoffs, and who knows what they're going to do in the playoffs.
I'll give the NHL credit for that. That was a good solution.
And it's also good for the Canadians because they love to fight about hockey.
There's going to be some battles. But the other aspect of that is there's no local travel here. I mean, you're going Toronto to Vancouver. I mean, that's cross country.
Right. That's not. You're right.
They're going to have a lot of travel. Whereas, like I said, in the East, especially, the Central is, it's still there's still a decent amount of travel when you're looking at Dallas and Tampa Bay or Carolina.
I mean, you can take the bus up to Boston.
Right. I mean, that's the advantage of the East. There aren't, I mean, like I said, Buffalo and Pittsburgh are the only 2 outliers. But then it's New York, Boston, New Jersey, Philly, and Washington. That's an Amtrak route.
It is.
They should have called it the Amtrak East.
That would have been perfect for them. That actually would make sense. Okay, brother, let's quickly talk about the soccer. We got about 3 minutes before we get kicked off the air by Justin.
Yes, brother.
What about soccer this week, brother? You know, your team, how's Tottenham doing this week?
It was, well, I mean, Tottenham wound up with a 3-1 victory over Sheffield United. It is, quality win. They finally went out and I've been screaming about this for weeks. They hunted the second goal, because Tottenham has been making it a habit of taking an early lead and then losing the lead late and winding up with a 1-1 tie as opposed to getting a victory that they deserved. So they finally went out and hunted the second goal. That's been my motto now, and I think it might be my motto for the rest of the season. So they moved up from that against, like I said, Sheffield United, which is a disaster of a team right now. Sheffield United is one win, 16 losses, 2 ties. They're already relegated. But your Liverpool, brother, they wound up in a 0-0 draw with Manchester United. And somehow Manchester United now finds themselves on top of the table. They're not that good. I don't know how this is happening. But Liverpool has now dropped to 4th place.
Wow.
Manchester City is in 2nd, although they have a game in hand. So if they win that game, they will go over Manchester United into 1st place. Leicester City is in 3rd place with 35 points. Like I said, Liverpool 4th, 34 points. Tottenham is now 5th with 33 points. So, it's looking as if it will be a hotly contested season. It's not going to be like last year where Liverpool had the title won, with a month before the season ended.
Right.
We're going to the wire this year. Like there are 6 teams that are within 5 points of each other for the top spot. And I'll throw Everton in there too, as 32 points. And they also have a game in hand as well, so they could wind up with 35 if they win that other game. But it's tight, and it's good to see because
right.
Obviously, it's more exciting now.
It is, brother. We got to end the show, brother. It's been another fine show. You've been listening to 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. Our show is called From the Press Box here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. This becomes a podcast later on Spreaker and wherever you find your podcast. My name is Rob Leonard, and, of course, joining me has been my brother and award-winning sports writer, Tim Leonard. Good show, brother.
Thank you, brother. Good show.
And thanks for Justin for keeping us on the air, and we'll see you next Monday. Take care, and bye-bye.